explain to you about our topic, that is semiotic and contemporary culture. I'm Namira Athiyyah Puteri as the first presenter will explain to you our learning objectives and what is semiotic. So, our learning objectives are: first, to know what is semiotic and contemporary culture. Second, to know how is the relation between semiotic and contemporary culture. And the last, to know the examples of the relation between semiotic and contemporary culture. So, without further ado, let's go to the first material about semiotic. So, there are three famous theories to discuss about semiotic. First, Roland Barthes. His focuses on semiotic is how science and photographs represent different cultures and ideologies in different ways, meaning and flavor. There are denotation and connotation. And the second famous theorist is Ferdinand de Saussure. He is the creator of the term semiotic. He distinguished between signifier and signifier. Signifier means the concept, the image or sound that gives meaning. Meanwhile, the signifier means that the concept or meaning that the science refers to. And the last famous theorist is Charles Peirce. He argued that every thought is a science, every act or reasoning of the interpretation of the science. And then, he introduced forms of science as icon, index, and symbol. So that is the explanation of semiotic. Let's move to the next material.
Hi! Right now, I will talk about culture and contemporary culture. So, what is culture? Culture is all human efforts in a group to make their life better. Culture can be studied and related to the group. So, we can conclude that culture is about togetherness. For example, talking and walking is not a culture, but the way of talking, the way of walking is a culture. Then, culture is divided into two kinds. The first one is material culture, and the second one is non-material culture. So, what is material culture? Material culture is an abstract culture. It means that it can be seen, it can be heard, it can be smelled, it can be touched, and for example, food, clothing, art, and etc. But the non-material culture is an abstract culture. It means that it's all about feelings. For example, belief, point of view, ideology, and etc. Okay, so now we will talk about contemporary culture. Contemporary culture is product or process of human activity or thought that is studied and takes place in a certain time. The existence of culture, of course, determined by time and place. Contemporary culture refers to the common themes of art, music, architecture, literature, and others at that present time, and it is popular. For example, the clothing in 1945 is very different from the clothing in 2020. I think that's all enough from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Prastyaning Eka Pertiwi, and now I would like to explain how the relation between semiotics and contemporary culture. So, semiotic is defined as the study of the sign, which is basically the study about the sign, codes, or symbols. That is any system to allow us to see certain things as a sign or something meaningful. While contemporary culture is the culture at the present that use language and own purpose and objectives. So, what is the relation between semiotic and contemporary culture? The semiotic is a system to explain the intention and the goals of the language in contemporary culture. And then, the semiotic use language interpretation to express the contemporary culture. I think that's all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sondang Meilani and I will explain about the example of sign in contemporary culture. Okay, so science exists throughout human life, right? It exists in every human culture. So basically, everything can be sign. Semiotic examines everything about the meaning contained in social and cultural phenomena in various aspects of human life, including contemporary culture. Before we continue, we must know that every society has different culture, so that the ideal form of culture is a bit abstract. For example, it can be in form of ideas. Culture can be in form of ideas. It can also be in form of norms, values, regulation, and so on and so on. So it is a bit abstract. It cannot be touched, but is in the minds of the cultural community. Contemporary culture is a culture that is popular at its time, and it can change according to the development of the era. So for now, contemporary culture is today's culture in which we live right now. And since contemporary culture is the result of technology advances, it is very dependent on technology, and there is no boundary between the reality and fiction. The examples of semiotic studies of signs and meanings in contemporary culture can be realized with the signifier identified through the eye sense, so we can actually see it. The signifier conveyed into pictures or colors, locations, anything that we can see. We usually call it visual communication. For example, a picture taken from side angle and front angle imply different meanings. Another example, color. Color has different meanings according it usually determined by the culture of a community. For example, in Arab, black is the main color for clothing for Arab women and other Middle Eastern countries. In different countries, black can imply different meanings. So the color of black implies different meanings according to the culture of the society. The characteristics of contemporary culture are: first, the boundary between fiction and reality, west and east, countryside and city have faded. Second, it is interested by the community. Third, it tends to change over times. Fourth, it is usually easy and practical. Some other examples of contemporary culture are social media such as YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and there is also Amazon, eBay, Uber, Traveloka, and so many more actually.
Okay, so my name is Zefanya Angel and I will conclude everything that my friends already said before about semiotics and contemporary culture. Semiotics is the study of sign and symbol and their use or interpretation. In contemporary culture, there are so many semiotic signs we can find. The examples are signs in our social media, books, street, and many more. But we must know that in every culture, the sign and symbol meaning is very different. Each region has its own symbol and culture which continue to develop according to existing technological development. That's why to understand semiotics meaning in contemporary culture, we also need to know